Hi, my name's Dr. Karen Gedney. I've been a prison physician for almost 30 years, and I've made the decision that once a week I'm going to discuss what I consider a prison bite. In essence, it is a story about something that's happened on the inside, and hopefully you will find it interesting, entertaining, and give you the ability to think and ask maybe some questions that need to be asked. This week, the prison bite I affectionately call the panda. So let me get started with the story. In my system, I have a bit of a medical facility, has quite a few beds, and we get shipped inmates from all around the state, and they end up in this system. Now, years ago, I was shipped well, you'd have to imagine. He was about 50s, gray hair, sort of a flat expression. He was shipped up, and on the chart was basically written, dementia. And when he came in, he didn't speak, he didn't interact. It appeared that he was incredibly demented, and he was placed in a cell. And because he didn't create too many problems, we sort of didn't do a lot with him. He seemed to eat when he was encouraged on his own, and not too much else. Now, oddly, there was another inmate on the inside. I'm going to call him Stan. And this guy, oh, he was a hothead. He had dark hair. He had the little mustache. He could flip out like that in a second. Any tiny perception of abuse of power, and he went off the deep end, like just flipped. And it was very odd to me, but this guy ended up protecting that old guy. He hated it when some other inmate tried to get his food or steal his dessert, and he ended up also buying things for the old guy. And one Christmas, I remember, he bought the old guy some sweat clothes. They have the ability to purchase some things through their store, and he bought the old guy a sweatsuit. And one of those cheap little sweatsuits, but it's soft, not like the sort of coarse material that they tend to wear. And I noticed that this old guy, who never seemed to really do anything but just eat and the other guy look after him, he would pet and just unbelievably love the little soft feeling of his sweatsuit, his little soft sweatsuit. And that's all I saw him all day long. He was touching his pants, touching the top, and I thought, God, this is the first time this guy is ever into something. Now, mind you, it's around Christmas time, and oddly, I was out at a Macy's because I'm not really into shopping, but somehow I was shopping and they were giving away free little gifts, and they handed me this panda, this like fuzzy black and white panda, and I brought it home and thought, what am I going to do with it? I didn't have any children, I didn't really know any kids to give it to, and I thought, I will give that panda, if the warden allows me to, as maybe an occupational therapy device for this inmate in my medical facility. Now, I want you to know that all wardens are different, and almost probably every warden in the United States would think I was off my rocker, but this particular warden was a bit more broad-minded, and you have to remember it was Christmas time. It's a medical facility, and this guy was never really going to leave this little spot, and somehow I talked the warden into it. I brought in the panda, and it almost brought tears to my eyes to see this guy pet the panda, hold it. It was incredible. So he loves this panda. He carried it everywhere. He was always touching it. And Stan, that hothead, made sure nobody touched that panda. And time went on, and I sort of didn't notice the panda as much anymore. And I noticed that, we'll call him Les started getting irritated. He started getting, you could just see he was not happy. He didn't say anything. He hadn't spoken 7 years at all, but you just know he was agitated. And I didn't know what was the matter. I thought maybe where's the panda? But the panda was still around. I thought, could he be sick? No, he seemed to be hardcore healthy, even though he was demented and he didn't say a word and he just walked around following Stan the hothead. And I wondered, what am I going to do? And it just turned out we had a psychiatrist at that time. And I asked the psychiatrist, well, this is an old guy, he's demented, he seems agitated, I have no understanding why. And he's not sick. And the guy goes, oh, try this new atypical antipsychotic, just a small dose. And I thought, well, all right, what do I have to lose? So I gave him the drug. And then after, I don't know, sort of a couple of weeks, he was less agitated. And one day, he's walking by. You have to understand, this guy never said one word in 7 years. I always wondered if he had Alzheimer's type of dementia, why he sort of was steady state, but I thought, well, maybe it's a different type of dementia, because there are different types. But he's walking by, and he looks at me, he goes, hello. Like I was shocked. I'd never heard the guy speak in 7 years. And I'm looking and I'm thinking, he said something. And of course, Stan, the hothead, who had protected him all the time, came to me and he was so excited. Ah, Les has spoken, he's spoken. And we were all excited. The touching part was, for me, and it made my nurses tear up, made Stan, who was never the type of inmate to tear up, Les gets his panda and brings the panda and gives it to Stan as a gift. And that was very touching. But what was even more touching was this guy ended up speaking again. And he ended up never being, mind you, normal or bright, but whatever functionality he had, he got to the point where he could actually talk and take care of himself a bit. And I was so amazed at him having the wherewithal to show his appreciation for Stan protecting him all those years by giving him the panda. I talked to Stan later because I was very interested in why Stan, one, had we're talking about a temper that could flip on anything and was like a hot-headed, demented rooster almost. And I asked him, Stan, why did you all those years protect him? And he said, well, he was like a tabula rasa, a blank slate. He was like a child. And I said, how come you're always so quick to anger? And then he shared something with me that really made me look at him differently. He said, you know, my father was a policeman, and he said he was a mean son of a bitch. And he would beat me, but also he used to rape me with a tire iron. And he goes, I cannot stand any abuse of power. And that guy who was so reactionary, so angry, was unbelievably protective of that old, demented guy who ultimately gave him that panda. So I'd just like to end that little prison bite and let you know that Stan did eventually get out of prison. And so did that old guy. I don't exactly know what ultimately happened to him. But the panda and a very hot-headed inmate, the two of them, and the luck of a little antipsychotic pill that was just used serendipitously, had him talk after 7 years of never saying a word. And that I'll end.